Hi, welcome back. Now anchors Chris Campbell and Michael Cation will sit down and talk about this week in sports.
Thanks, Annie. I'm now joined by Michael Cation, co-host and anchor. Michael, let's talk about this week in sports here at Baker. First of all, let's start with tennis. We got a couple games coming with tennis.
Lots of matches. I think, those are important matches for them, especially going into the HAC tournament in a couple weeks. I think if both teams can win, it'll be good.
Speaking of teams coming down with, working towards the end of the season, baseball is coming up with a big rivalry this week, William Jewell. Saturday, we got a game 5 and 7, or no, that's Friday night, 5 and 7, and then Saturday at 1, they're going to be playing William Jewell. I think that should be a big crowd pleaser right there. Come on, it's William Jewell, big rivalry.
Anytime you can beat your rival, it doesn't matter. And William Jewell, our biggest rival for most of our sports, so I think that, if the Cats can get a couple of wins off of those, they have 4 games back-to-back, Friday, Saturday. If they can get a couple of wins, maybe even 3 or 4 off them, that'd be great, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's move on. Softball also plays Saturday along with tennis and track. Who's softball up against this week?
Well, softball plays actually on Wednesday against Evangel, which is a very tough team, number 8 in the nation. So that'll be a tough one. And then they play Saturday and Sunday as well, Missouri Valley and Culver Stockton. So, those are it's kind of going down the home stretch for them, and I think if they can get some wins, that'd be great for them.
Definitely. Well, we got to finish up. There's some track with this week going on also, too. Tell me about the track and when they're going to be playing.
The track team has, actually, there's 2 meets on Saturday, so I think part of the team's kind of going to one and then the other.
Yeah, of course,
so, in Wichita and at Jewell, so, you know about the track team.
Of course.
They have a lot of great performers, so we'll see.
Well, we've had a few of them in here. Chelsea Ornborn, and, we've had her stop by, and we got some guys from the tennis team. We have Michael Angelito stopping in. Sorry about that, Michael.
Angelito, that's okay. You're fine. That's all that matters.
I'm bad with names. So stopping in, he stopped in earlier with the show, and he talked to us about the tennis team. So we got a good vibe going on. Dan Carr stopped by, so we know a little about the baseball team, and we're feeling real good about how the end of the season is going to turn out and that kind of thing. So let's move on. Let's talk about a little more globally, a little more national sports. First of all, we got to start off talking about the guys going pro. We got Durant going pro, Julian Wright going pro. Tell me what you think about these things.
Well, those two, Aaron Aflalo from UCLA, also going pro. I think those 3 players, they might be okay. And Julian Wright went actually because he's going to be in maybe the top 15.
Definitely.
Something, make about $6 to $8 million a year or something. So, why not? That's probably his best time to go, I think.
Of course. Yeah. Well, along with Durant and Oden, who are going to be the top 2 picks, and then from there, it's a sharpshoot. Whoever really wants to go.
Yeah, and I think Oden and Durant, obviously they're interchangeable at 1 and 2.
Of course.
And I think those two players are going to have an impact in the pros. It's going to be tough because they're going to go on some bad teams, but I think they're going to be able to do some great things.
Well, definitely. Well, you look at a guy like LeBron James. He went to a team that was terrible for the last 10 some odd years, or the case, and he's brought him to playoffs every year, and going on to win a championship probably here soon. So
yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, well, obviously. We talked about college basketball. Let's move on to K-State. We want to talk about Bob Huggins moving on.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm kind of a big K-State fan.
So we'll let you take over.
I'm going to leave this bias out.
We'll let you go then.
I think it's similar to Roy Williams a little bit, because he said, I'm not going to go to North Carolina. Then a year later he goes.
But it's his alma mater. He went. Same
exactly.
thing with
Huggins.
And,
I think that it's okay. And it kind of frustrated me. It did. But I think that as long as, and it's just not good for the, K-State obviously, but for the Big 12 too, because if those extremely good players that he has coming in, if they leave, what's that do for K-State? They go back to where they were.
True.
So, and it's just good for the Big 12.
You speaking of players coming in, Michael Beasley has talked a little bit about his mother has definitely confirmed that he'll be coming to K-State.
Yeah.
Michael Beasley's kind of worked around a little bit, said I don't, kind of here and there about the whole thing. What do you think, honestly?
He hasn't addressed the public. And, K-State, they're not going to want to just release him like that. They kind of want to hold on to him. So it's going to be difficult for him to leave. I hope he stays. That'll be good for K-State and the Big 12. Because the Big 12's not getting a lot of respect anyways. I think that a lot of people don't give the Big 12 as much respect.
Especially in the tournament this year. We didn't get as many picks, as I say we, because obviously, you and I are Big 12 fans, but the Big 12 didn't get as many picks as we wanted. A lot of teams at K-State probably should have got in there. There's a lot of teams that should have got in there, and I think there just needs a little more push from that side on the Big 12 team.
Yeah, I think so. And I think having those kind of players would really help out.
Okay, well, moving on to different sports. Recently, Warren Moon got arrested. Let's talk a little about that.
He got arrested. He got a DUI, and that's no laughing matter. I don't even know what that means, but he got arrested for a DUI, and And, I just don't understand. You got these players, and I guess he's retired, so he's a Hall of Famer, though.
Yeah.
You can't be going around kind of messing up your name. I mean, that kind of takes away from your
the
career
dignity
bit,
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think so. You got to have a little class, a little personality, especially when you're off. Especially when you're in the Hall of Fame. That's the number one place. That's like the highest honor in any sport is the Hall of Fame. And when you're there, you can't have that kind of attitude.
You talk about Warren Moon, Hall of Famer, and then you've got current player, Pac-Man Jones. He's out for an entire year because of his off-the-field actions. He violated policy of the NFL, and it's like, you might want to get your head together a little bit. You've got this great opportunity to play pro football or pro sport in any pro sport, for that matter, and you're just kind of ruining it.
Well, how do you feel about these guys making headlines because of their off-field antics instead of their on-field? I mean, it seems like that's the new thing here in sports nowadays, is that to get guys and what they're doing off the field.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I think when it's that big of an issue, when the player's actions off the field are so incredibly ridiculous, and you get involved in the police and everything. So, I mean, you have to cover it.
Oh, definitely. Well, let's move on to a more lighter subject. This weekend was the Masters, and Tiger did not come up in the end. We had a newcomer, Zach Johnson, kid from Iowa, from the Midwest, representing the Midwest.
Yeah,
did a pretty good job. What is your thoughts about the Masters? What are your thoughts about Tiger and that kind of thing?
Well, I like Tiger Woods. I think most people do, to be honest.
Obviously, that's the only reason most people watch.
He's ridiculous. He's so good. And I think it's cool that somebody else wins the Masters or whatever, big tournament it is. And I got to be honest, I didn't watch the Masters a whole lot. I read a little bit about it. And Zach Johnson, he seems like a good guy.
Yeah.
Won the Masters. He's been around for a little while, and he finally, got a big one under his belt. Okay, well, just to give you guys a little highlights from that weekend, it started off, Tiger was kind of iffy into the week, and a lot of guys were pulling up. Nobody could get really under par, but everybody kind of worked their way over par. It was around +1, +2. Stuart Appleby, he kind of led the week, and then it kind of moved into where a few guys fell back. Stewart fell back. Phil Mickelson fell out of the whole thing, and it came down to where Tiger was 2 holes away, and he had a chance of getting it, but Zach Johnson pulled away with the green jacket, and I think that's a big deal. Well, one of the stories was that it was actually exciting on the back nine, the final day of the Masters. And
that's how you want it to be. I mean,
exactly.
Well, they brought up, 10 years ago, Tiger, 1997, absolutely blasted everybody out of the water during that tournament. Well, that was a boring tournament, even though he won by 12 strokes. It was a boring tournament. This year was real exciting. The last 2 holes, you're thinking maybe Tiger could do it. Maybe he could do it. But, Zach's sitting up in the clubhouse. You're thinking, I want this kid when he's a good kid. You're just, and it was a good tournament. I'm not going to lie.
It's good for viewers. They get a lot of viewers that way because if it stays close, you get a lot of viewers. So it's really good for sports.
Good stuff. Okay. Well, we talked about Baker Sports, and there's some games coming up this week. We got some games, baseball games on Friday. We got a few games Saturday. We have baseball, softball, tennis, track, softball on Sunday. So we'd like to see some BU fans out there and that kind of stuff. But this has been it for my co-host here, Michael Cation and Chris Campbell. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Wildcat Chat, and this has been Annie Cook for KNBU.